You're on Mornings with Nadia Mitsopoulos on ABC Radio Perth.
Major cruise line Cunard has pulled the pin on Australia, cancelling voyages here because of ongoing COVID complexities, which has dealt our tourism industry another multi-million-dollar blow. Now, the 180-year-old British operator announced on Wednesday night it was cancelling all voyages in Australia and New Zealand for this year and next year. And those in the industry are fearful this is one of many more cancellations to come. Here's a little bit of a video the Cunard boss put out about this on the company's website.
Hello. I'm Simon Palethorpe, President of Cunard. Cunard has been sailing to Australasia for almost a century, and the amazing countries have a special place in our hearts, with celebrations marked over the years that are still fondly recalled by all those that were there. In recent years, the connection has grown ever stronger, with Cunard establishing seasonal sailings based out of Sydney and Melbourne. We cannot wait for more moments such as these. However, while we are seeing positive signs that cruising is on its way back, its resumption is still very much influenced by operational challenges due to the pandemic. I know this will disappoint our Australian guests, but it is unavoidable under the circumstances. I do want to emphasise that the interruption to our close relationship with Australasia is only temporary, and Queen Elizabeth is still scheduled to return in November 2022.
Okay, that was the boss of Cunard putting out a little video last night. And if you're involved in the tourism industry, is this a blow that those cruise ships will not be coming to Perth over this summer season? And you may have booked with Cunard as well if you've lost your trip. How do you feel about that? 1300 222 720. Morning's reporter Dustin Skipworth was down at Fremantle this morning, at the Fremantle markets actually, to find out how the news of the cruise company's summer cancellation is being taken.
Down here at the Fremantle markets, where normally the hustle and bustle starts on a Friday, when tourists flood the markets here in Fremantle. Joined though with Natasha Atkinson, the CEO of the Fremantle markets. You were really looking forward to, the moment that these cruise ships come into the ports and you see those tourists come off and flood the markets. How has this news come for you?
Look, I've been with the Fremantle markets 10 years now, and 9 of those years were spent on focus groups about how to attract more cruise ships to Fremantle. Our numbers of cruise ships were increasing. The welcome statement for our cruise ships was getting better, and then we lost it all overnight. When we reopened the market, there was the hope that once we knew we weren't going to have tourists straight away, but there was that bubbles that were proposed sort of 3 months after we opened that things would start happening, which has taken a lot longer. And so now we know our numbers are 30% down. This is just another hurdle in the long list of COVID hurdles. I mean, we will survive, but it's just tough, and it's tough for our general merchandise traders who do survive on the tourists.
Yeah, I spoke with some of those local vendors here earlier, and this is what they had to say.
There's tourists that come frequently, they mainly come through the day, so it's a big impact on us for sure. The thing is they come so quickly in a day that they buy something as a souvenir probably.
What we can do, we have to survive, we continue like that, unfortunately. For the last maybe now it's more than a year. It's been going through, and it's going to go through maybe another year they're talking about.
It sounds like, a lot of these local vendors are doing it tough. Is there a number financially that you can put on the lack of tourists coming from these cruise ships?
We don't have tenants' numbers, financials, but what I do know is someone like Maurice Nuts, who survives on tourists, is their numbers are, even though we're 30% down on visitation, they're 70% down on income due to the tourists.
And so what does the future of the Fremantle markets look like at the moment in this, tourist climate we're seeing?
So we are having to pivot to focus on more locals. We've got increasing the food offering. Our general merchandise will only ever boom when we've got tourists, and that's interstate as well. So when we get Victoria back and no more lockdown, so people feel secure to visit Fremantle or Western Australia regularly. And then once we get the internationals, that will be just an added bonus for the general merchandise. Food surviving quite nicely just on locals.
Has there been an influx of people that just can't keep their doors open in here?
Overnight, when we closed for COVID lockdown, we lost souvenirs. So Megabee's, the souvenir shop, gone. Any Indigenous products, we no longer have any boomerangs, didgeridoos. We lost pens, like Carl, who made handmade pens. We lost a lot of floonies, a lot of these beautiful handmade products that had been with us for, 15, 20 years, overnight gone.
Well, I hope that, as we move forward into the rest of the year and more people get vaccinated, that we can see some of these tourist ships coming back. Natasha Atkins, CEO of the Fremantle Markets, appreciate your time and telling your story.
Thank you.
Well, let's now go to Brett Dudley. He's the founder of cruise company ecruising. Brett, good morning to you. How many bookings did you have with Cunard?
Oh, we had hundreds of bookings with Cunard, and actually some of them pivoted around Fremantle because Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth had sailings to and from Fremantle, and we'd package those with the Margaret River and the Indian Pacific, back to the East Coast. So, it's not just the cruises that we've lost, and obviously the passenger experience, but also the other add-ons that obviously, put money into the economy as well in WA.
So it was a whole experience that's
right.
That was going to benefit people beyond Fremantle. How much revenue does that equate to that's lost?
Well, look, just from the Cunard side of things, we're going to lose close to $2 million in revenue. And, and now the Silver Sea and, Pennant have pretty well cancelled the Kimberley season. And, they pivot out of Broome and between Darwin and Broome, and just one sailing in August that we had out of Broome, we're going to lose $1 million alone just on one sailing. So, we're going to lose millions of dollars out of this. And
how reliant are you and your businesses and those businesses that you talked about on companies like Cunard and the cruising industry?
Well, heavily reliant. I mean, the ships that, we've obviously, been without revenues for over a year. And, Australia has the highest per capita cruising in the world, at 4%. And so there's it's obviously popular. And, you've got Tourism Australia telling everybody to holiday at home, but sending mixed messages, obviously, because now there's no return to service for the industry, for the cruise industry, and there's no clear path of when that's actually going to happen.
Did you see this coming, and other people in your industry?
Oh, look, I've look, we've all been quietly confident because obviously last year was a bad year, but this year this Kimberley season, like I said, that pivots out of WA and into Northern Territory has been the biggest Kimberley season ever. And we've been quite confident that was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the Northern Territory health minister decided to put a ban on ships with more than 100 people on board, and without any consultation really to the cruise industry. And that's where the Kimberley season started to fall over. But yeah, look, I think myself and everybody's been quietly confident that this season would go ahead. But, I was a bit optimistic about the whole thing, but you've got to try and stay positive. But, the cruise lines can't work with these parameters. These ships take months of planning, and these itineraries, what Cunard's cancelled is not just, Queen Elizabeth that was here for 4 months in Australia, but they've cancelled 2 world cruises, that have been heavily booked out, and those 2 world cruises pivot in Australia. And so that was Queen Mary and Queen Victoria have been cancelled as well. So, now they've got to, reposition the ship somewhere else. They've got to, come up with new itineraries. They've got to book the ports. They've got to, they've got to sell them at fairly short notice. So it's a huge disruption to everybody.
What about on the safety side, though? Because I'm getting quite a few texts from people saying, hang on, where were these people coming from and how were they going to be allowed in without quarantining? I mean, that was the issue, I guess. I mean, were these Australians travelling around Australia, or were they actually international passengers coming in?
No, so Queen Elizabeth and the season this year were all Australian residents, as far as I know. And, we've been waiting for, I think, the new protocols. And, of course, safety is, the key. But, in saying that, the cruises have resumed around the world. And, in fact, in Singapore, Royal Caribbean and Dream Cruises have carried over 150,000 people, albeit on a reduced capacity. But, they've carried over 150,000 people in the last sort of 7 to 8 months without one COVID case. And they've proven that, they can do it safely, and that's what they wanted to do here.
I'm speaking this morning to Brett Dudley. He's the founder of ecruising, and just commenting on the news that Cunard, which is a big international cruise liner, will not be doing any voyages around Australia. They say it's a pause, but there is uncertainty because we don't know when they will resume those, and there's quite a few people, hundreds, certainly in Brett's case, that had booked voyages, and these are Australians travelling around Australia. Are you concerned that other companies may do the same, other cruising companies, because there is still a lot of nervousness about going on a cruise ship?
Yeah, look, there are nervousness, but look, if you look at the statistics from our clients, and I know also the surveys that the cruise lines have done, that 70 to 80% of the people are ready to go on a cruise. But yes, it will have a knock-on effect. And look, it hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say. But there's already another one of the cruise lines that's going to pull one of their ships. And just recently, Regent have cancelled their season this year. So yes, and it probably doesn't leave Australia or the cruise lines looking from the outside from an international basis of much confidence in the Australian government can make a decision, and they just want to know either way if it's going to go ahead, and if it is, what does that look like?
We'll leave it there. I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. Brett Dudley there, very concerned Brett Dudley, the founder of ecruising. We'll wait and see, but he's been told he understands another cruise ship company is going to do the same thing. And I mean, there's people that still want to cruise.